On a Friday episode of Locked On Raptors, the Toronto Raptors smoked the Miami Heat again. And if that's the Brandon Ingram we're going to see in the playoffs, well, that's pretty interesting.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors. It is Friday, April the 10th, and I'm your host, your pal, Sean Woodley. Thank you so much for hanging as always. And on today's show, we are talking about once again laying the smackdown on the Miami Heat. It's a very nice thing to own another professional basketball franchise, and that is what has been the case with the Raptors and the Heat all season. 128-114, a big one for the Raptors in conjunction with the Sixers losing to Houston. They're one win away from locking up a top 6 seed, and if they win out, they will be a 5 seed, which is very cool if you want to see the Raptors play the Cavaliers in the first round. We'll talk about whether we want to see the Raptors play the Cavaliers in the first round later on today's show. We're also going to talk about Collin Murray-Boyles and Jakob Poeltl and the wealth of options the Raptors have going offense, defense with the 5 position, and we'll talk about Brandon Ingram going ham. We'll do it all with our dear pal, Joe Wolfond, who is here. It's a flu game for him, but he's battling through to bring us the takes. Joe, thank you for being here to bring us the takes. How are you, my friend?
I'm okay. I mean, like I said, I've under the weather, might have picked up the bug that ripped through the Blue Jays clubhouse, but like them, I'm going to try to power through and not do the podcast equivalent of getting swept by the White Sox. So I had to be here and try to bring as much energy as I can and as the occasion demands, because like you said, I'm having a hard time remembering the last time we have seen them dominate a team like that in a season series, like for it to be so lopsided against an ostensibly decent team, like a team that's above 500. Like, when is the last time that they have just beaten up on an opponent that like a good opponent that consistently and definitively? It's tough to remember.
This year's Atlanta Hawks, does that count? There's
yeah,
that.
I suppose. I mean, those two teams combined, right? They're what, 7-0 against those teams?
8-0. Yeah. Just
8-0. I think they only had 3 games against Atlanta. No, 4.
No, I think it was 4 against the. They played 4 times in the first 20 games. Yeah,
right. With nary a single-digit win among them, right? So
yeah. Really impressive stuff, and the reason why they are sitting where they are in the standings as we wake up this morning in 5th place is beating up on those teams. And I will say, Joe, no matter how bad you may feel today, take solace knowing that you are having a better day than Pelle Larsson had last night. Let's start there. Let's jump into Brandon Ingram, who was the star of this game. 38 points, 7 boards, 7 assists. I think by most measures, the best game he's played as a Toronto Raptor. Just like a really, really tidy game from him. One of his best playmaking games of the season. Hunting mismatches, just kind of seeking out dudes, blood in the water, like very pointed and just like, you're going to screen for me and I'm going to hunt your guy. Like, just very much in command. I thought it was just like a really, really impressive performance. And I think, this is the kind of thing you're going to want to see from Brandon Ingram come playoff time, right? Like, playoffs, things slow down. You have to play the mismatch hunting game. We'll see who they play in the first round, but whatever team they play, there are going to be some places where Brandon Ingram can pick at, whether it's the lack of wings on the Cleveland Cavaliers or their small backcourt, or whether it's finding Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns in space, or, someone who he's cooked in the playoffs and regular season this year, Mikal Bridges. Like, there are going to be mismatches for Ingram to go and find. And I thought he just did a wonderful job in this game of being very methodical about doing it. But what were your impressions of Ingram's, again, I think maybe inarguably the best game he's played as a Raptor?
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit on all of it. I would just say the intention, especially early in the game, to get to the rim was really encouraging to me, like not just settling. And obviously he got into a great rhythm and started hitting a ton of jump shots, tough jump shots, turnarounds, fadeaways. And that's a big part of his game. But early in the game, the way that he was sort of forcing the issue, driving the ball, getting to the basket, getting layups, getting fouled. I don't remember. how many free throws he wound up with, but
11.
It was
10 of 11.
11 free throws. Like he averages like 4 per game, you know? So that was a hugely encouraging thing for me. And, you know, to your point about the mismatch hunting, it's like, I remember we had this conversation a couple weeks back about, it was kind of about the late game offense. And I think what I said was like, yeah, you want to shift that maybe a little bit more to have more of a balance, but you don't want the Ingram stuff to go away completely. You are still going to have to rely on that. And there are going to be situations where, like, in very short order, the Raptors had a 26-point lead sliced down to 6. It was like 5 minutes where 20 points were sliced off of their lead. And there was Ingram to sort of calm them down, just like get a matchup he liked and make a jump shot, right? Mm-hmm. There are going to be games where he does that and the shots are not falling the way that they were last night, and the process is going to be a bit frustrating. But ultimately, they still do have to rely on that because he is their best sort of self-creator, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when the defense is tightening up, when maybe the Raptors themselves are feeling a bit tight, when they just need that sort of reliability, like a guy that they can give the ball to who's not going to be afraid to go and create and take a shot and hopefully make it. So again, it's not going to look like it looked last night a lot of the time, but I think it's the decisiveness that really stands out to me, you know, where it's not like there were a couple possessions where I think they ate too much of the shot clock trying to get him the ball against a mismatch, and you would like to see that stuff, you know, completely excised, but I think the trade-off is worth it when in the instances that you are getting him the ball, he's making quicker decisions in terms of like shoot the ball, drive the ball, pass the ball. And I thought when the Heat sent 2 guys to him, which they did often, like later in the game, he was really good about like getting rid of it quickly, making the right reads, the right passes. That's why he wound up with 7 assists, which I think tied his season high.
And just 1 turnover, which is a big deal for him too, right?
Yeah. So, you know, it was all positives in that regard. And again, like the jump shooting is something that is just going to sort of wax and wane. But I think that's why I'm encouraged to see the stuff that could have more staying power, where like if you have the intention to not settle, right, to get to the rim more, to get to the free throw line more, that stuff can be stickier in terms of the carryover from game to game than just like relying on pure jump shooting. And I thought there was a good balance from him in doing all of those things.
Totally agreed. And yeah, he also just like, what I loved about this game from him is he seemed like he was playing with so much joy and was like stoked for other dudes when he was serving it up on a silver platter for them too. Like as like vocal and sort of, again, as like joyous as I think we've seen the Ingram experience be this season. I asked Darko after the game as well, Joe, if there are sort of common denominators in the best Ingram games that he's noticed, and his first response was, yeah, like when he's getting to the rim, it's a whole different ball game for him. I think that's obviously true. For you, is there anything else that kind of stands out? Like for me, I think we saw again last night, I think this game mirrored the Suns game a few weeks back pretty closely, where it wasn't the sort of laborious post-up stuff, entry pass, run him through an Iverson cut, all this stuff. It was just like, okay, you just create from the top right now. And they just kind of spread out the Heat defense that way. I thought his decision-making was great. I thought as he started to hit the pull-ups and the Heat were kind of sitting on that, he made good reads out of that. Like, I don't know. I feel like Ingram running pick and roll in this game, he got credited running 15 of the 37 pick and rolls they ran last night. The Raptors scored 1.32 points per possession on those, and it was a good mix of his own looks and, you know, creating for others. You know, that to me is another common denominator for the best Ingram games, where it's like clear out, just let him be the best creative ball handler on the team and create from the top and run a little classic pick and roll, which is something they don't do a whole lot of.
Yeah, honestly, my favorite possession was one where he didn't even get credited with points or an assist. It was kind of later in the game, and it was Shed who screened for him. Yeah, and the Heat switched it, but Wiggins basically didn't really go with Shed on the roll. They switched, but he also stayed to sort of provide that second layer of help. And Ingram immediately recognized that and just like slung the ball to Shed, who made a quick touch pass to CMB in the dunker spot. And that was like beautiful offense, right? And it started with Ingram, just like the recognition, getting rid of the ball quickly. And, you know, that doesn't show up in the box score for him. But that's the kind of stuff that needs to happen if defenses are going to play him that way. You know, so it's like, if you are playing the mismatch hunting game, like sometimes, yeah, you're just going to get that mismatch that you can attack one-on-one. sometimes it's going to mean that the opponent like is going to have to send two guys at you because they're not comfortable with that matchup.
Yep.
And
especially in the playoffs, like that's the Heat were not exactly fine tuned in the way they were covering all of that last night.
Right. And like, we're going to talk about potential playoff opponents at some point today. Like there aren't going to be as many of those soft spots to attack as there are on this Miami team. Like that's just a fact. So he might have to find different ways to get to his offense. Right. But I think it was just a good sign. And I think, so I remember back the Detroit game when he came back because they had played the game without him against Orlando, dummied the Magic. Obviously in that game, the ball was just popping, right? And they were playing with a ton of pace. And it was easy, the Detroit game happens, it goes differently. It was easy for people to zero in on Ingram being back and being the squeaky wheel that slowed them down. And I thought maybe that happened a little bit later in the game, but I actually didn't feel that way early in the game. I actually thought he was very intentional about trying to fit in and play within the flow. Almost to a fault sometimes, but like he was really trying to be like, okay, I saw what you guys did without me. Like, I'm not trying to screw that up. Like, I just want to like move the ball quickly and not be that squeaky wheel. And like, if you looked at the numbers, in terms of their offensive possessions, they were playing faster in that game against Detroit than they did against Orlando. So I've actually seen that like continuously since he came back in that game, even the Boston game when like he really struggled in that game, but I thought for the most part, again, he was making quick decisions, playing in the flow. And I think that's just sort of continued to happen like up until last night's game where you see like a really healthy balance of like getting off the ball quickly, making quick reads, but also like when he sees an opportunity, when he has a matchup that he likes, just like taking his time and going and attacking that until he gets to a spot and gets a good shot, right? And like I think that's the balance that you want. You don't want that stuff to completely go away. Like you're gonna really need that, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, like the Ingram slow it down and just kind of pound the ball possessions. They're not the prettiest, but it is very much just like the vegetables the Raptors got to eat to have a competent offense sometimes. And it's all about balance. The other stuff is all the delicious sides and fats and sugars and whatnot.
Because I'll just add, right? Like you don't get those possessions where the Heat are hard doubling him if he's not having all the success that he's having going one-on-one early in the game.
Exactly. Well put. I also, you mentioned the one really beautiful possession they had. Like there were like 3 or 4 possessions, and I don't know if any of them turned into points. They had like the most beautiful shot clock violation I've ever seen in this game, where they had like ran like beautiful like just like motion offense, and Ingram getting downhill, advantage into advantage into advantage, and then they just ran out of time. But like there's a lot of that stuff in this game that maybe didn't show up in the score sheet as well. Good stuff from BI. We're going to come back into the side here, Joe, and talk about another guy who's really good. Collin Murray-Boyles. Good God, this guy rocks. And he has created a very interesting question for the Raptors as it pertains to their center rotation. We'll get into that and how the Murray-Boyles Jakob Poeltl question might get sorted out come playoff time. We'll do that in a sec. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. And look, financial stress is something a lot of folks carry right now. It's a heavy world. Lots of things are weighing on everybody every single day. And it's not just about the numbers. It can affect your sleep, your relationships, your overall mental health in ways that build up over time. And the reality is struggling with money doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it just means you haven't had the right kind of support. And it's, I think it's something I think most people think about these days. Just, how can you kind of keep on the level and feel all right with your situation when it seems sometimes like the entire world is crashing down. Having someone to talk about this stuff too is very important. And therapy is not just about, you're not getting financial advice necessarily, but if you have a therapist, you can work through the stress, the anxiety, the emotions that come with all of that. And with over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served, BetterHelp makes it easier to get matched and start focusing on what you need. When life feels overwhelming, therapy can help. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are very, very close, and where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to get in on the action, and you can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets back if your first bet wins right now over at FanDuel. That's pretty fun. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking for stars, role players, key moments, whatever it is. Maybe you want a same game parlay on a team you're rooting for in the playoffs. Maybe you want to throw some money down on, I don't know, the Jamal Murray over on points, the Nikola Jokic over on rebounds, the Nuggets to win their first game of their first round series against the Wolves. You can go and do that over at FanDuel right now. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Back out here with Wolfond. Just a quick reminder, the Locked On Raptors Everydayer Club is open and available for you to sign on up. And what better time to get ad-free episodes of the show than right now? Save time during the spring and don't listen to ads. Just listen to the show uninterrupted. $5 a month, $50 for the year. You save like 17%, I think, if you do the yearly subscription as well. You can go do that at lockedonraptors.supercast.com. Link in the description of the podcast. Come do it. And you also get access to our Locked On Network-wide Discord, which is going to be a lot of fun. The NBA chat, particularly during the playoffs, is going to be sweet. All right, Wolf. Collin Murray-Boyles. This guy. This guy... 22 minutes last night, 17 points, 7 of 7 from the field. No big, 8 boards, an assist, 2 steals, a block, and a plus 21. Since he came back from injury, he has been really, really damn good. To the point that last night, Darko Rajakovic said he's got to stop bigging him up so much in the public, and told him as much so he doesn't get such a big head. Because every time he's asked about Collin Murray-Boyles, he's just gushing. Even last night, he was just like, I'm starting to get surprised by how good this guy is, which is, a thing you want to be hearing about your rookie player going into his first playoffs. And obviously, he's been playing center for the most part this season. Wolf was a huge part of the team keeping afloat while Jakob Poeltl missed as much time as he did this season. We know he's good at the position, but I think it's maybe coming into focus now that he's just the best guy they have for the position in most situations. And that's not to say too much negative about Jakob Poeltl, though his defense, I think, has really slipped of late. The offense really hums when he's out there, and that is the value. That's the trade-off. When Jak's in with the starters, they're incredible on offense. When you swap Collin Murray-Boyles in, the offense struggles a bit, but the defense is unbelievable. And it's just kind of nice to have options. You were posting a bit about this last night, Wolf. How do you think this sort of center duo is going to shake out come playoff time? How would you like to see it shake out? Because at this point, I think Collin Murray-Boyles is firmly in the inner circle of trust for Darko.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is it's one of the things I'm most interested to see when we get into the playoffs. Is like, what does the center rotation look like? I think pretty much we're not going to see the two of them play together much, if at all. Yeah, they've only been on the court together for 72 minutes this season. Now, granted, there have only been 27 games where both of them played. Yeah. So maybe that's something, I mean, I don't know. With such a small sample, I don't know if that's something in the last 2 games of the season, especially while you're still kind of like fighting for a top 6 spot, whether you want to just like see and try and get a longer look at that. The numbers in those 72 minutes are actually hilarious. They have a 98.7 offensive rating and a 94.1 defensive rating. So they're the 2006 Indiana Pacers is what you're telling me? Exactly. Yeah, basically the 04 Pistons. Right. I mean, and you understand why offensively that might not be tenable, especially if Scotty's not on the floor, then maybe it's a little bit more breathable. But with those 3 guys out there, as much interior passing as the Raptors have, and as many ways as they find to sort of scheme around their spacing limitations, that's just tough. And especially in a playoff setting, I don't think you want to see that. So you're thinking about splitting them up. And maybe you have, like last night was an interesting tell because it was, I think, 22 minutes for Collin, 17 minutes for Yak. And I think like before garbage time, it was maybe 5 minutes of Mamu as the lone big man on the floor. I don't know. That feels close to the right balance for me. I think you probably see Yak's minutes tick up in the playoffs. Like you just want to have his size on the floor, but sure. The interesting thing is like CMB plays way bigger than he is. Yeah. And the numbers with him as sort of the nominal 5, like obviously in those minutes you want Scotty on the floor as well so that they can kind of share those center duties basically. Sure. Yeah. The numbers in those minutes with the 2 of them as like the front court are not like, you're not seeing them get wounded in the way that you would expect for a team that is playing small.
Yeah,
Like the rebound
exactly.
rate is very good. The rim defense is very good. And, it's honestly at the offensive end where they've actually struggled the most.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing from CMB now, that's what's giving me all this optimism about what he can be in a playoff setting, because he's finally showing that assertiveness, looking to finish, being really effective finishing at the rim. I don't know if like he's just getting shot up with cortisone every game or like the thumb has actually meaningfully improved, but it definitely seems to not be affecting him as much at the offensive end. Like his finishing has been really strong. And that's why we're starting to see these like actually nice scoring games from him that we weren't seeing before, when he was passing out of like 3 layups a game.
He's the fourth leading scorer on the team since he got back from injury, like 14
That's
a game.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because he does have all of these ways to put himself in position to get these like in close scoring looks. He's a good screener. He's a good roll man. He's smart about like navigating space off the ball, finding pockets, like making himself available to catch passes. And he's got nice touch around the basket, right? So now that he is actually like looking to assert himself in the offense and actually take and make those layups, like it's kind of completely changed the equation for me. And obviously, like, we know what he can do at the defensive end. He's an absolute monster. Obviously, the offensive rebound, that's a huge part of his offensive game as well. Getting extra possessions for the Raptors, like, and that again, that's like, okay, he's 6'7", but like you look at the offensive rebounding numbers when he's on the floor, they're getting a ton of second chances. So I think, to me, it's a good problem. It's not a problem. It's a good situation.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, having options in the playoffs, good thing.
Yeah, so like I think that they basically are just in a situation now where they can have 48 minutes of quality center play, and it can be situational, right? It's a couple of different looks that they can throw out there, and they can still go to like the Mamu at 5 lineups when they want to space the floor a little bit better. They want to inject some more offense. Mamu's been really good. Encouragingly, Mamu has been really good at the 4 recently, which hadn't been the case earlier in the season. Like sneakily, the Mamu CMB minutes were like a total disaster until a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's really started to improve. And same, we've seen Mamu and Yak play together more in the last like 7 games than they'd played together the whole season up to that point. Those minutes have been very solid. So I think these are all encouraging signs about the front court rotation generally. But I would say, and look, like the first game against Miami, Yak was really good. Right?
Yeah.
And the second game, there were a couple possessions where I just thought he was like completely out of position defending the pick and roll. We saw in that Celtics game, like he got torched by, the Tatum-Kata pick and roll like over and over and over again. And
Peyton Pritchard got his ass a couple times too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just, again, it's like, so if that was the matchup, that would be a tough matchup for Yak. And that would be a matchup where you'd want to see more CMB, I think, because of the switchability, the defensive versatility. And I think, but there are going to be situations where you want to have Yak out there as well. So I just think it's a good thing. But as I'm looking at it now, I'm like, I know Yak is going to start, but I think probably like I would want the bulk of those center minutes to be going to Collin at this point.
Yeah, I think he's deserving of it. And I think it's encouraging that it doesn't seem like Darko is afraid of like the politics of playing the rookie over the guy who's on the big fat contract. Like he seems totally okay with giving Yak the hook when it's needed and giving Collin Murray-Boyles the run. And that's been really nice to see. And I think, like you mentioned, like they're sort of figuring out these front court combinations. Like it does feel as though, I mean, this is what happens when you have most of your team available, is you kind of learn your team more. And it feels as though Darko's kind of learning the team and kind of has a good handle on like what works, what doesn't. And I made this point last night, like when they have all of their guys available, like this is a good team. Like then they have a lot of different ways to play. The number that I was sitting next to our pal Keeks last night, and I had her look this up. The Raptors are 7-2 now in games where they have their top 9 guys available, and they have like a plus 10 point differential in those games. Like it's not a huge sample, but it's not nothing. And I think this Collin Murray-Boyles Yak thing, it kind of speaks to the lineup versatility they're able to throw out, even as a team with like some limitations shooting wise, ball handling wise, all of that. Like they have different ways they can play, different ways they can sort of put the other team on their heels. And I think that's going to lend itself well to whatever playoff matchup they end up getting. It's interesting. I think the Knicks potential series, That feels like a CMB series. I might really lean towards starting CMB in that, just to have him and Scotty for the Brunson Towns pick and roll stuff. And you maybe want Yak to go bang with Mitchell Robinson. I think in a Cavs series, maybe it's more traditional where you just kind of match up the Jared Allen, Jakob Poeltl minutes. But again, one of them good problems to have this going on. And I think bigger picture too. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say that it feels right now like Collin Murray-Boyles is changing the future outlook for the franchise like a little bit every single day with what he's doing. It's like,
yeah, I would say he's changing the present outlook. Like that was sort of my feeling watching last night's game was like, this dude looks like he could be a playoff riser, right? Because of the way that he both can play through physicality and enforce physicality.
Sure.
Like, and now with the scoring punch that he's showing, and just the different ways that you can use him both offensively and defensively, I'm like, this looks like a playoff type of player to me. And so look, that doesn't change my mind about I don't think the Raptors are going to win a first round series. Sure. But do I think they can be more competitive in a first round series than maybe I felt before Collin had this stretch that he's having right now? I kind of do. Yeah. So so it's changing the long term outlook, but like to me, it's kind of changing the short term outlook too. That's how impressive he's been. Like it's crazy to say that about a rookie, to be like, he honestly changes how I feel about their playoff prospects, but that's really how good he's been recently.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of outlier stuff going on with this guy, and outliers are kind of the thing you want when you're sort of looking to succeed in NBA basketball. We're going to come back on the other side here, Wolf, and run through the good, the bad, and the including the we'll dig into who do you want, Cavs or Knicks? It seems like it's going to be one of them at this point. We'll get into that to close out the show in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. The playoff push is heating up and tournament hoops are here, and there's no better way to get in on the high-flying action than PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. Every bucket, every assist, every big moment means more when you're building lineups on PrizePicks, and PrizePicks is very simple to play. It's daily fantasy built around player projections so you can stay locked in to every game. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections in a given game, which makes it quick and easy to jump into. It can be from one game. It can be from games across the spectrum of, the nightly schedule. It can be cross sport if you want. You want some hockey and basketball, you can go and do that as well. It's a lovely thing. You got the NHL playoffs coming up. Those are lots of fun. You got the NBA playoffs. We know they're fantastic. Why not mix the two with your lineups over on PrizePicks? And it has features like early payouts, which lets you lock in and win early if your player gets off to a strong start. It's a fun way to stay engaged, especially during the most important stretch of the season. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDINNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDINNBA for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup at PrizePicks. Go check it out. All right, wrapping things up here with the good, the bad, and the It's how we wrap up every episode of this year podcast in the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing we liked, a thing we didn't like, my God, and a thing that's got us feeling a little bit intrigued from the latest in Raptors hoops. We'll start with the good. I will go. And my good is Immanuel Quickley doing what he can. He is clearly not 100% right now, Joe, but I think he's been entirely additive in the 2 games since he got back. Getting to his pull-up a little bit. Obviously, the off-ball spacing and just the shooting gravity he has is a huge deal. Thought he was exercising a lot of patience as a ball handler in this one. Had a few possessions where he just kind of created something from nothing because he head-faked and pump-faked and footworked his way into the sort of heat making a mistake. He had 1 assist to Jakob Poeltl in the second half in particular where he kind of got deep position, pump, pivot, pump, head fake. Okay, Poeltl's just like completely wide open at the rim now because of all of that. Really nice to see. And Darko gave him a lot of praise for his defense after the game as well. Called him the second best off-ball defender they have on the team, which is high praise. And I don't think it's unfair. We've talked at length on this show, Wolf, if you want to go back and listen, your guest appearances about Quickley's off-ball defense this season as well. He's been really, really good. He is my good. It's nice to have him back in the mix, even if he's not fully 100%. And boy, oh boy, would a week off for him and that foot be very, very nice. Wolf, what you got for your good?
I think generally just the way that this team has shown its ability to win the possession battle in the last little while. I mean, it's kind of been a hallmark of theirs all season, but it's really ramped up in the last month or so. Mm-hmm. And last night, in the competitive portion of the game, they committed 4 turnovers. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like, they obviously turned their opponents over a ton. They have the second best turnover differential in the league after Oklahoma City. And they're starting like now to really show up on the offensive boards as well. And like they've been good on the defensive glass lately. So like that's starting to be an area where they can win the possession battle as well. And if you add it all up, they're looking at like, you know, about 2.5 additional shooting possessions per game than their opponents. Last night they were plus 13 in shooting possessions. Those 2 games against the Pistons, the one that they won and the one that they lost, both double digits in the positive column in terms of their advantage in shooting possessions. And the Pistons are the team that wins the possession battle by the most on average of any team in the league. So to do that against them really tells me something. It's super impressive. And we talk about things that are like sticky, right?
Yeah.
That's important to me looking ahead to the playoffs because shot making variance is going to happen.
Yep.
Like there are going to be games where, like last night, the Raptors shot over 40% from 3, right?
Yep.
That's not going to happen most games, right? Shot making is going to come and go. You got to have things like that are going to be steady and constant. And so it's like, if you can consistently just get more shooting possessions than your opponents, that's going to give you a better chance to win, and it's going to give you a better chance to survive the games where the shots aren't falling.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's a good one. The bad, I think we had the same bad on this one, unintentionally, but this is why we compare notes before the show, Joe. I had point of attack defense. Raptors gave up a lot on drives in this game. The Heat took 36% of their shots at the rim. They shot 81% on those, and I think a big part of it was like they were so uncompetitive guarding a lot of these drives that there just wasn't time for the help to be in place on the back end, and the Heat kind of feasted off of that.
I mean, the whole game, it was just like, can they keep Davion Mitchell out of the paint?
Right.
Can they keep Davion Mitchell out of the paint? They could not. Like at any point in the game with any defender on him, whether it was Jacoby, whether it was Shed, whether it was RJ, he blew by all of them. And the Heat made 14 threes in this game. They also missed a bunch of open ones. Like the Raptors sort of got let off the hook a little bit there. And a huge proportion of them were created just through drive and kicks. And so you mentioned like, okay, they're getting blown by at the point of attack, and then it's happening so quickly that the help is late. But even when the help is there on time, it's like somebody's going to be open as a result of that, right? So like there were a couple where he missed the layup, but because the help had to come over, somebody was free for an offensive rebound, right? Somewhere the help came over and a lay down open up. When the help comes over and the weak side defender sinks down to make sure that the laydown pass isn't there, then, it's a skip pass to the corner for an open 3. Yeah. It starts with springing leaks at the point of attack, and it's a genuine concern, right? Like, it was a concern, obviously, going into this game. It's a concern looking ahead to the playoffs, especially thinking about some of the teams and the guards that they're going to have to go up against.
Yeah. Just put Collin Murray-Boyles on all of the guards is the answer.
It might be. I mean,
it might be like I've made the comparison, but like 2018 Pascal on John Wall and OG on Bradley Beal. Like, they might have to go with some stuff like that.
Well, I will say this. I mean, they started the game with Scottie guarding Hero, and that did not go well. No. Hero got past him a couple times. Scottie committed a couple very early fouls as a result of that. So I know they've done that against the Knicks, like with him guarding Brunson. And you mentioned, neutering the Brunson cat pick and roll, like put Scottie on Brunson and put CMB on cat, and you can just switch it. Like, I don't know. In some cases, that might be the best option. It's not, to me, the best utilization of Scottie, but maybe it's just something you have to do in some cases. But, God, it would be really helpful if somebody could step up. I know Jacoby in certain situations has been really good. Shed in some situations has been really good. If one of those guys can step up and really, like, take on an assignment like that and allow Scottie to do his best work on the back line, that would be very, very helpful.
And let's pivot there. Let's go to the here, Joe, and we're going to talk about the same thing. We're going to talk about who do you want to see? The Raptors seem like they're going to be a top 6 team. Obviously not done yet. They got to win one of these last 2 games. They play the Nets on Sunday. The Nets are deeply uninterested in doing anything that even resembles real basketball. So you would think that they can pull that one out. If they don't, just go and win tonight in New York, which I don't think is off the table either. Both teams on a back-to-back. I don't know. I think there's arguments either way. I think most people would lean Cavs just because the Knicks have so royally owned the Raptors this season. I do think there's sort of some stones unturned when it comes to things the Raptors can do against the Knicks, and they haven't quite had their full complement of guys for really any of the games, and they currently have all their guys, and so I think it's a bit of a different dynamic. But I'm leaning Cavs just because I think their lack of wings is a problem against the Raptors, and I think there's very clearly something with the way Scotty sees that matchup, with the Mobley thing, with they're going to have to pick a poison as to like, okay, if you're going to use Mobley as your best wing defender, like who are you going to throw him on? And then how do you kind of adjust from there? Like I think either of these teams would be favored over the Raptors for sure, but I think the Cavs are probably where I think the Raptors can put the biggest scare in. Are you with me on that?
I would say Cavs, but I think honestly, when I'm thinking about the matchups on paper, I sort of second guess that decision. Like it is kind of a pick based more on what we've seen and based on vibes. And it is worth noting that the 3 games the Raptors played against the Cavs, they were nowhere close to full strength, really.
No, like they had one where they were pretty healthy, but
they had one when Garland was the only guy missing, right?
Yeah.
So okay, it's like now just add James Harden to that team, and it's it's kind of a different equation. And then the other 2 games, it was like they were just decimated. So I don't take much from those. No. But I do think, again, just sort of going with my gut, it does just feel like a more Raptors favorable matchup for whatever reason, because maybe it is a matchup where they can impose their physicality a little bit more. And I think we've seen in those games against the Knicks, like they are the team that has gotten worked in terms of like physicality, effort, athleticism on the wing. Like they just really struggled with that matchup. Like Josh Hart has absolutely demolished them. OG has demolished them. Yeah. And so thinking about a matchup against a team that is not nearly as proficient on the wing, I do think you're maybe giving Dean Wade a bit of short shrift. Like, I think if there's a guy that they could throw at Ingram and be like, make his life difficult, I think Dean Wade could do a really good job of that.
Sure.
And it's also interesting to me because there are more soft spots to pick at with the Knicks defense than there are with Cleveland's.
Yeah.
Like, Donovan Mitchell, he's small, but he is super sturdy and he's a solid defender. Yeah. James Harden, like his defensive reputation is what it is. But, for the most part, like if Ingram was mismatch hunting and Harden was the guy he wanted to attack,
that's not ideal.
Like, yeah. Harden is strong as hell and he's a really good post defender, right? Like the way that you beat Harden is with speed, and that's not really something that most guys on the Raptors, outside of like Jamal Shed, not really a ton of guys on the Raptors who you're like, oh yeah, get James Harden on him and he's going to blow past him. Like that's So I actually think like looking at the Knicks matchup and like Brunson's vulnerability defensively, Cat's vulnerability defensively, it like feels like maybe there's more that they could pick at there, but I don't know, that matchup has just gone so poorly for them that it's hard to say that that's the one you would prefer. But again, like going back to the point of attack defense concerns, like the Cavs have the best backcourt in the East. I don't even think it's close. Yeah. So that would really worry me. I guess it's a little bit damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I will say Cleveland is the one I'd prefer.
Wolf, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much, brother, for hanging out. As always, anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
Raptors in 7, the Substack that I'm doing with Vivek Jacob. Still putting out lots of stuff there. You can sign up and get that content straight to your inbox. I'm also writing, basically a piece a month now for Raptors Republic, so you can check out some of my work over there. I did a big Brandon Ingram feature recently. Got another one hopefully coming soon about IQ, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Follow, subscribe, rate, review. It's a great time now to join the Everydayer Club if you'd like to do that as well. $5 a month, $50 for the year gets you ad-free episodes of the show, plus access to our Locked On network-wide Discord. It's a great thing. So thank you in advance for doing all of that. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Enjoy the final 2 games of the regular season. Zulfi and Dwayne will have the postcast for you after both of those. And I might even, we'll see if I can pop in with something over the weekend as well. But at the very least, we'll be back on Monday to break it all down and look ahead to the playoffs, unless they lose these 2 and maybe it's playing time. But they're not going to do that, right? No. We're not going to speak that into the world. Anyway, have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Oh, that's a good omen, baby.